Hello everybody. The theme of this month's class is to rewire your brain to let go of blocks and manifest. It's presented by me. I'm the founder of the Eye-motional Processes app and I'm an internationally accredited level 5 kinesiologist. There's some housekeeping today. Have a pen and home play sheet or paper ready to go. The home play sheet is available in the link. You don't need the Eye-motional Processes app to participate in this class, but it will deepen your experience and class outcomes. So a quick introduction about brain rewiring, which I do in every class I do, because some of you are new to my classes. So it's important for you people to learn about this little bit. And for those who are old hat and come and see me every month in my class, then it's always important to have a refresh. The human brain has approximately 100 billion neurons. These neurons make over 100 trillion neural connections in your brain every single waking and sleeping moment. Your thoughts, emotions, and how you respond to experiences you observe are also governed by these neural pathway connections. Every day, you have between 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts. Many flow through your neural pathways without playing a looping tape. But some thoughts can trigger difficult emotions and create brain stress. Unhelpful emotions and thoughts become entrenched in the brain's neural pathways. And these unhelpful emotions and thoughts are reinforced every time roll our eyes at displeasing events. These eye rolls become part of our emotional saboteurs and make it really tricky to change how we see ourselves and our world, because each time we're exposed to something that triggers an emotional stress from our past, we roll our eyes and reinforce how we feel and think about it. Eye movements and auditory processing in a kinesiology setting are techniques that have been used by trained kinesiologists in their clinics since 1982. They help rewire unhelpful core beliefs from childhood and limiting conscious, unconscious, and subconscious thoughts and emotions. This video on the app explains how. The Manifesting with Brain Rewiring app is a brain rewiring for manifesting tool. The app combines kinesiology brain rewiring methods of eye movements and auditory processing. It is based on 8 years of application, professional research, and then trialled on 100 case studies. The 6 processes on the app combine the kinesiology methods required to gently release your emotional saboteurs. This is achieved by gently rewiring the brain to diffuse the neural pathway glitches that have been established in your mindset over many weeks, months, and even years. The Eye-motional Processes app is the main tool we use alongside this class, so you may rewire your brain to let go of your manifestation blocks. The blocks in particular that have been caused by past or present toxic relationships that you have endured. The app is affordable and simple to use, and at the end of this class you are given a home play prescription to use so you may begin to rewire your brain to let go of the manifestation blocks of toxic relationships. The bonus is, because we live in a thought equals form world, the 6 processes are a brain rewiring for manifesting game changer. So let's get into the class. The law of attraction and your brain. The law of attraction relies on a thought equals form premise. Emotional blocks and debris occur when we get stuck on difficult thoughts and emotions about the past, present, or future. This means if we allow our emotional blocks and debris to remain stuck, then we simply cannot access manifestation flow. So now we're going to talk about your emotional energy field and toxic relationships. Toxic relationships transfer emotional energy and lead to codependency on a person or a relationship that is not emotionally helpful for you. Toxic relationships enable reactivity in your emotional energetic field, in your brain, and through your body. Toxic relationships lead you to become addicted to over-helping, enabling, rescuing, and fixing patterns, and doing this in others, especially the toxic relationship that you are enduring. Toxic relationships are emotionally draining, cause short and long-term physical ailments, deplete your ability to gain freedom, joy, love, and self-empowerment. Toxic relationships are difficult to shift from your life, so you may then manifest the loving, free, and joyful life you want to live. That's why they're manifestation blocks. Toxic relationships are addictive, and this class explains how and what you can do to unlock the cycle of enduring toxic relationships and begin manifesting the life you want to live, the life you are here to live. The brain and toxic relationships. Now, in this section, I do talk a little bit about the brain, but I try to keep it as simple and easy to understand as possible, and I only talk to a certain aspect of the brain when it comes to the particular class we're looking at. If you find this part a little bit overwhelming because it's new learning, just sit with me for a bit because we won't be too far into this before we move into something really important that you'll want to know about. Essentially, your brain is built to either seek rewards or to avoid risks, which is to avoid pain. When you experience something rewarding, your brain releases the neurotransmitter dopamine. This dopamine hit occurs in the dopamine pathways of your brain, known as the reward pathway, this area here. Its proper term is the mesolimbic pathway. It makes its reward-based path and it relies on the ventral tegmental area called the VTA, as well as the nucleus accumbens, and it communicates between it. The mesolimbic pathway is your reward pathway, and it also has circuits within the limbic system. So see how closely they sit together. When you have a reward-based experience, dopamine rises in your limbic system and it signals positive feelings. The mesolimbic reward pathway is full of dopamine neurons. From these neurons, which is the video you're observing, dopamine travels to areas of your brain and body, enhance feelings of reward and pleasure. It is this feel-good sensation that has you motivated to repeat the reward-based experience again and again. For example, if your relationship with a parent is fun, loving, and kind, your reward pathway releases dopamine. You can see I've set these up. It's not to have them look like aliens. It's just to demonstrate dopamine occurring, which is what we can't see, but we can feel it. And from this release of dopamine, you'll want to spend more time with that parent. If you have experienced the unconditional love of a healthy, intimate relationship, your reward pathway releases dopamine to desire more of the same. If you have enjoyed loving and fun friendships, your reward pathway releases dopamine to look forward to the next get-together. If your workplace relationships have been mutually respectful, your reward pathway releases dopamine to gain motivation and pleasure from being at work. But if your relationship with a parent has created emotions of anger, defensiveness, or fear, especially through regular exposure, then your brain will want to avoid the risk of further pain. The same risk avoidance occurs if an intimate relationship has created emotions of anger, defensiveness, jealousy, or fear. The same occurs when it comes to the toxic friendships you have endured or keep tolerating, and is the reason you may love your job as a skill set but hate going to work amongst all the politics. Remember earlier I said that your brain is built to either seek rewards, the pleasure, or to avoid risks, the pain. When it comes to toxic relationships, There's three main issues that prevent you from embracing healthier and happier relationship experiences. Issue number one, when it comes to the reward and risk in your brain, is that when you are trying to avoid the risk of toxic relationship exposure, your amygdala in the limbic system activates fight or flight responses and gets involved. This sends fight or flight hormone activation through your brain and your body each time you're exposed to toxic relationships or even when you think about them. This causes brain stress, emotional confusion, an inability to keep previous promises you made to yourself to stop going back for more hurt, and a replaying of old tapes and painful stories in your head or out loud to others about past hurts. Issue number two, to best safeguard yourself against painful and risky toxic relationships, you need to be really good at analysing risks. But here's the problem. The area of your brain that analyses risks is the neocortex. That's the rational and thinking part of your brain. When faced with a situation of relationship risk that you really want to avoid, your neocortex, the rational thinking, struggles to win the battle against the fight and flight of your limbic system. So instead of your neocortex analysing the risk to avoid toxicity and being rational and thinking it through, your limbic system overrides it and you become emotional and quite triggered. This explains why and how you get so emotionally triggered when you are deciding what you should do about a toxic relationship, because the wrong area of your brain is trying to do the job. The true role of the limbic system is to sense danger, to signal your brain to pump stress hormones and prepare your body to either fight for survival or flee to safety. That's the correct activation of the limbic pathway. As you can see, I put a tick over that. Your limbic system is not built for analysing risks in circumstances where rational thinking is required. That is the job of your neocortex, not the limbic system. Now getting back to that often long-term toxic relationship you have with a parent, or a toxic intimate relationship you are in or have come from, or the toxic friendships you keep tolerating, or that toxic workplace, what your brain is really seeking is the rewarding experience of respectful, kind, and loving relationships and the dopamine release you feel when you have good connections with others. But when relationships are toxic, your brain continually creates internal emotional struggles to win the battle against your reward system, which seeks loving and safe relationship connections, against your fight and flight system that keeps you emotionally reactive and going back for more, even though you know damn well the pain and risk of continually enduring that toxic relationship. The best way to hack your brain from going back for more toxic relationship exposure is to get really good at creating safe boundaries between you and toxic relationships, and then using the app to gently rewire your brain from the identified emotional debris that causes your fight and flight to activate when it comes to toxic relationships. Now let's get rewiring. So our activity is to create great boundaries between you and energy depleting toxic relationships. So we're going to use the Onion Gap Frypan home play sheet or paper to identify where your boundaries need to improve to keep your emotional energy safe from toxic relationships. So if you've got a piece of paper, please get it out and get your pen out, because you're going to want to do a little bit in the class. So let's do this. I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to just identify how this works. But let me show you first. So in my world, which I've been using this tool for a very long time in different settings, and I find it a remarkable tool to actually help people contemplate, get their thinking brain into gear when it comes to boundaries and toxic relationships rather than the limbic system firing off all the time on something so difficult. So here's how it works. So comfortable relationships in my world sit inside an onion. So if you can imagine yourself as the center of the onion, right here in the middle, nobody else should be in that center with you, even a spouse. There needs to be a layer between you and all those rings. So we're not so much peeling back onion rings when it comes to eye-motional processes as we are about embracing them as a bit of a Teflon coating, if you like. So I think of it different to a lot of people, so kind of excuse how the onion gets interpreted with me. Here you are, in the center of your onion. Outside this onion might be a spouse that has you feel comfortable, a parent, a friend, your relationship with spirit. What is it that you feel comfortable with that makes you feel safe and sacred? On the other side of this home place sheet is the fry pan. If we put the onion on high heat into the fry pan, it's going to get burned. It's going to sizzle, and we don't want that. So we've got to remember the onion can't touch the fry pan when it comes to this stuff. That means we sit there and say, okay, well, I know exactly what depletes my energy field and what drops me straight into feelings of anger or blame or jealousy or shock. It's my mother or my ex or this friend or this colleague. They get written down into the fry pan. Now we come back to the gap. And I put a clock there in this sheet for a reason, because we need time to work it out. Sometimes our energy field and our consciousness needs to arrive at a place where we can determine, are we feeling comfortable and safe here? And is this person that we've put into the gap heading towards our onion, or is this person heading towards our fry pan? Now, this is totally essential to people who've endured toxic relationships because they're not really good at working out new people. They haven't kind of read the field too well, and they're still learning how to pick up and learn about the navigation of their soul's nudgings to say, hey, this isn't quite right. So this is why we use the gap. When we meet a new person, don't put them straight here, don't put them straight here. Pop them in here. Unless, of course, you've gotten really good at soul detection and you know right now you're near a psychopath, sure, throw them there. But if you're still working it out and you started a new job or you're entering a new dating situation or a new friendship, pop it in the gap. And as time evolves in that friendship or relationship or workplace setting, it will head either here or here. Isn't that cool? So take a couple of minutes and just write down on the home place sheet, maybe 3 or 4. So task 3 is to get out your chart of emotions on your app. So on the chart, we're going to have a look only at the depleting relationships you've listed in your fry pan. Now, obviously, you're going to go back after this class and really delve in and sit with it and integrate it and let it sit with you and your consciousness. Don't just see it as, I've got to do this now and I'll just do it. No, go away from it. Do a bit more, come back to it, do a bit more. But for now, I've given you a little bit of a test sample. So what we're going to do, beside each fry pan relationship that you just identified, even if that's a past relationship, and yes, it can be a past relationship, that ex-husband or ex-wife may not still be in your spectrum, but your neural pathways are still reactive to it. So what we're going to do here is next to each fry pan relationship person you identified, you're going to then look at this chart, which I've got here and you've got on your app, to identify what colour best matches how you feel when you experience that toxic relationship. If being around your mother has you feel sadness or fear, put it there. If being around a friend who's quite hurtful has you feel resentful, frustrated, put it there. If you're feeling judged constantly by somebody in your workplace, go to green. You get the idea. I'll give you a minute because we've only got a couple of examples listed. Okay, I think that would have given you an opportunity to put that in there. So number 5 is to now count how many process colours you have on your sheet from that activity we just did to determine which process colour is more dominant. So if you had 2 yellows and 1 red and 1 blue, then yellow is your dominant colour. If you have 1 of each, then please pick the colour that is the lowest on the chart, because that is the lower vibrational frequency. Shifting this first allows these ones to kind of sort themselves out fairly quickly too. So just have a quick count of that and put that down. Now your answer that you just determined is your main emotional energy block, that is the barrier sabotaging you from creating self-care boundaries between you and toxic relationships. It's that coloured emotional thread that has your limbic system fire into reactivity when you hear that phone ring and you see that your toxic mother is calling you, or that text that arrives that your toxic friend that you didn't want to see again after last Saturday night's carry on has texted you again and asked you to catch up, or if your boss emails you that is really giving you a hard time. When that occurs, your neural pathway immediately triggers into limbic stress rather than rational thinking and sets off an emotional process where you start to feel that inner turmoil emotionally and you're triggered, which is why we have the home play sheet and the app-related home play. Because firstly, the home play sheet allows you to take it out of the limbic system and into the rational thinking part of your brain, so that you're separating emotion into logic when it comes to difficult toxic relationships. The app-related home play, as you know from originally start of the video, allows the neural pathways that have become stuck for so long around toxic relationship exposure to be cleared and diluted and reduced over a period of time so that it becomes far less stressful to you, to your brain, and to your limbic system. So we're doing 2 things. We're doing the logical setup in the home play sheet, and then we're rewiring the neural pathway glitches that have become your process orange, or your process green, or your process indigo. Okay? So here is the home play prescription. So after class, you begin your home play by listening to your chosen process from step 5 of activity 1. So that was, what colour did you pick that stood out the most as your emotional energy debris block? Which one was it? While listening, think about the stories in your head that ruminate about that person or painful relationship experiences that you've had with that person, both in the current, future things you might have to go to, such as a wedding, such as Saturday night drinks with the girls, such as back to work on Monday. those things. Or back in the past, stories that have come up that have been really painful, that a parent or a sibling or a child may have exposed you to, or a dear friend or a spouse that you just can't move past. Then, after listening to a process each time, see where your energy field has lifted. So, you may have started on orange, thought about your toxic relationship in accordance with this prescription, and when you check back in afterwards, you may be feeling violet, in a place of calm, even though that toxic relationship hasn't shifted yet. Sure, it may not have in a physical sense, but under the law of vibration, which is the law of attraction, when we shift it on an energetic plane, suddenly those toxic relationships start to move out of our lives in remarkable, majestical ways, such as that person finds a new friend, or that particular toxic boss gets a pay rise and a new job in another department and is out of your life. Or mum suddenly starts to shift out of your field of consciousness, or you start to improve your boundaries where you protect yourself better. Things change when your vibe changes. Sometimes though, you might do an orange or a red or a green, and you might only shift up a layer. And that's okay too, because the next time you go and you listen to the higher layer. Then you complete this particular prescription, this protocol, 4 times a week for 4 weeks. If you do that, you're going to find significant shifts in your brain and in your energy field, as well as some of the observations you're seeing in your onion gap Frypan tool. And number 7 is to boundary improvement check-in. In 4 weeks' time, after completing the home play recheck, your boundary improvements on the onion gap Frypan sheet. Where are you? Where are these gap people now? Where has your consciousness shifted, which isn't activating amygdala stress, limbic system stress, on this stuff? Have these people moved? Have you got better boundaries? I bet you will. If this class and the prescription isn't enough and you do need some deeper processing, especially if you've been exposed to psychopaths and narcissists in your life, then you can book a consultation with me online. There's more ways than one to process your stuff.
Find freedom, experience joy, embrace love, create empowerment.